Marc Medley Show. This is one of those episodes where it's in conjunction or in combination with some of my other media or content that I share with you. And in this particular case, I've actually shared this thought yesterday on my blog, The Critical Thinker, as well as on LinkedIn and eZine and a few other areas where I promote content, because I deal with a lot of content between my radio show, The Reading Circle with Marc Medley, my blog, The Critical Thinker, this podcast, The Marc Medley Show, and other social media sites. But this notion, this ideal for me is so what I feel powerful that I feel I wanted to share it across platforms. Thus, this episode today. I may change the name of it for the podcast. I don't know, but the name for the article or the blog post is, "It is my prayer that this COVID-19 experience will make us more appreciative of everything." And I'm pretty much going to read verbatim from the article, but I'll probably add some things in as well. So it is my prayer that this COVID-19 experience will make us more appreciative. The key word is appreciative, grateful, thankful of everything. Initially, I was going to post the words that are now the title of this particular release, and like I said, I may change the title for the podcast on Facebook as a general post. But it dawned on me that the thought was bigger than just a one-liner on Facebook. Now, you know what? I may still post it as a one-liner on Facebook. However, I believe the notion needs to be expounded upon with the hopes that it will actually happen, that it will actually manifest, that some good will come from this pandemic. The idea came to me as I was returning home from a task that prior to this COVID-19 experience, I dare to say was a task that not much thought was given to by anyone, even though it is something we all have to do at some point. And it could be considered mundane or routine. And I'm sure you're wondering, what task was that? Well, I'm glad you asked. It was grocery shopping. For a little over a month now, life as we know it changed quickly and drastically as a result of the coronavirus lockdown that was put in place to stop the spread of COVID-19. Lockdowns occurred around the world as more and more cases of the coronavirus and deaths occurred. Schools, churches, stores, malls, restaurants, movie theaters, amusement parks, local parks, gym chains, massage and skincare franchises, travel and tourism businesses, and anything else that was not deemed quote-unquote essential were suddenly closed. Everyone, with the exception of those who worked for an essential business, was told to, quote, stay home, unquote. Talk about your pattern interrupts. Routines changed seemingly overnight. Just about any type of face-to-face interaction was and is now being conducted virtually by video or telephone. Masks and gloves are worn when you must venture out to the supermarket or the bank or the drugstore or the pharmacy. And food can only be ordered via the drive-through or as takeout. Even funeral services are conducted virtually, if at all. Yes, life changed in an instant. It is for this reason that I am praying and hoping that once we have made our way through this COVID-19 experience, this pandemic, that every one of us is more appreciative of the most minute detail and activity. I hope that we appreciate every person, meeting, activity, job assignment, and experience like someone who knows what it now feels like to be restricted from doing these things. During this COVID-19 experience, we are restricted from being with people, other human beings, our friends, our relatives, our loved ones, going to collectively worship at whatever our worship houses are, learning in a classroom, going to our jobs, or, as I said a couple of minutes ago, saying our last goodbyes at funeral rituals. We are restricted from eating in restaurants or enjoying a movie or riding a roller coaster. We are restricted from receiving a massage, manicure or pedicure, or going to the barber or the hair salon. We are restricted from working out at the gym, playing basketball in the park, or seeing our children play on the jungle gym or the swings or the seesaw or the hobby horse in that same park. We are restricted, and once these restrictions are lifted and we have worked our way through this COVID-19 experience, because we can't get around it, can't go over it, can't get under it, we got to work our way, we got to go through this. But once we are through it, we ought to be more appreciative of everything more than ever before. It has been said that, quote, you don't miss your water until your well runs dry, unquote. And there is some truth to that statement, as I'm sure we didn't realize how much we would miss the people, gatherings, and activities that I mentioned earlier, and even more than that, until they were taken away from us. Let us not take people, activities, things, and abilities that we have been blessed with for granted. Let us be grateful now, and once we are beyond this COVID-19 experience, take our levels of appreciation and gratitude to unseen heights. Let us experience each experience as if it were our first time. Without a doubt, we are a part of history, as I cannot recall in my lifetime ever experiencing anything like this. There have been many other crises, yet none required the world to simultaneously shut down. When we are done, we ought to be more thankful than ever. It is my prayer that this COVID-19 experience will make every person hearing my voice or reading the blog posts more appreciative of everything. Think about it. When 2020 came in, who would have thought that by March, the world would be shut down? I mean, really, seriously, think about it. Think about the world being shut down. Those things that I mentioned, shut down. Things that we do on a daily basis, no longer could we do, at least for the moment. Think about that. Think about how our lives have changed and how we do business have changed, and how we have to now look at each other on a computer screen or hear each other's voice only on the telephone. Not being able to hug or shake hands or being each other's midst to gather for whatever the gathering may be, whether it may be a party, church service, class, whatever. Not being able to do that. Think about that. As I said, I lived long enough to experience the gas shortage back in the 70s whenever we were lining up on odd and even days. The lines would be so long from the gas station extending down the street on both days, odd and even days. If your license plate ended in a 6, you got gas on one day. If it ended in a 5, you got gas on another. I remember that. I remember Ebola. I remember Katrina. I remember Sandy. I remember the AIDS, when AIDS came out, when herpes came out, when the Son of Sam killings, 9/11, the whole thing that was going on in Atlanta with the kids that were being killed. I remember all of those. But I did not see a reaction to none of those the way we've reacted to the coronavirus, COVID-19. I don't know how the flu pandemic was handled. I don't believe I was here during that time frame. I know we've had other pandemics before, but again, this is the first to my knowledge where countries literally were shut down. Most of the time, when folks are shut in, it is because they are sick. In this particular instance, we are shut in because we are trying to keep from becoming sick. So once we're through this, and we're on the other side, as I say, the other side of through, we ought to be so thankful. We ought to be so glad to be able to go to school. We ought to be so glad to be able to go to church. We ought to be so glad to be able to go to work. We should be so glad to be able to go food shopping. We should be so glad to be able to go to wherever it is that we have to go. We ought to be so glad to be able to be in a park with more than just yourself. We ought to be grateful and thankful. I shared earlier this morning on one of my social media sites, the last thing we needed was anything that would put human beings further apart. This whole thing distances us. We have to keep distance. That's the last thing we needed, was to have to keep distance from each other. If anything, we needed something that would bring us closer together. Because we're divided enough as it is. We're divided. There's more divisions and separation as it is. And now this has come along to separate us even more. So that's the last thing we need. If anything, we needed some kind of virus that would make us have to hug. Some kind of virus that would make us have to treat each other right. Some kind of virus that would have to make us treat our neighbors and our fellow man right. But instead, we wound up with something that further distanced us, that forced us to stay divided, separated, 6 feet apart. So when this is all done, and I have no idea, and I don't think the powers that be, have a clue either, because I don't know how they're going to determine when this is quote unquote over. But when it is over, because a lot of people have lost their lives in this time frame. Just since this thing started in February, March, a lot of folks have lost their lives. I cannot imagine being on the planet for 50, 60, 70 years, doing the good that you're doing, serving, and then out of the blue, a virus comes along and just takes you out. Police officers I've seen, the mayors, I've seen pastors and preachers and folks who have been serving. This virus came along and now they are no longer here. I said in my last broadcast, this is not a video game wherein, okay, we're playing and whoever the participants are, they get killed, and then after the coronavirus is over, they come back to life. Once these folks are gone, they're gone. And it's just, oh my God, it just seems just so fascinating to me that people who've been on the planet just get taken out by a virus that we didn't even know of 4 months ago. That's fascinating to me. I mean, I've heard of more deaths in the last month concurrently, one right after the other, simultaneously, than I can recall in my lifetime. I have just not one post after another of someone else passing away. And each time there's that tagline, COVID-related, coronavirus-related complications. So again, for those of us who make it through this, once we're done, we ought to be so thankful. Everything's just thank you. Nothing but gratitude and appreciation. I invite you to listen to me even though we're into this shutdown. My show, The Reading Circle with Marc Medley, the studio that we produce that out, is on the campus of a university of which was shut down because of the coronavirus. So we had to suspend our recording. But when we're back on the air, you can hear me live on Saturday mornings from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock a.m. on gobrave.org and 88.7 FM. We web stream around the world as well as we're heard locally on FM radio in the northern New Jersey area. You can also catch me here, of course, on the Marc Medley Show, and then you can read my blog, The Critical Thinker. The site for the blog is thereadingcircleblog.blogspot.com. thereadingcircleblog.blogspot.com. But I tell you what, I'm going to make it real easy for you to get to any of my platforms. It's just a matter of going to my website, which is my name, marcamedley.com. That's MarcAmedley.com. Real simple. Go to my website. It'll take you to every one of my other platforms, whether it be YouTube, whether it be the radio show, whether it be the podcast, whether it be the blog. Go to my website. It's the gateway to all of the rest of the platforms. Again, very simple. It's my name, marcamedley.com. MarcAmedley.com. As they used to say on that show, Hill Street Blues, be safe out there.